Humanity is in the midst of a mutational meltdown that is causing us to become smaller, slower, and dumber, Michael Snyder reports. Most people would like to believe that things are just going to get better and better, and that the future is full of lollipops and rainbows. We like to think of ourselves as the pinnacle of human existence, but the truth is that humans have been getting smaller, slower, and dumber for quite a while. So why is this happening? Over time, human DNA has accumulated an enormous amount of deleterious mutations, and each new generation adds even more. Our DNA is essentially an instruction manual, and these deleterious mutations are spelling mistakes, essentially, in that manual. Eventually, there will be so many mistakes that our instruction manual is simply not functional any longer, and that's a major problem. What this means is that the clock is running down on the human race, and that is a really that most people don't want to face, a reality. I know that a lot of you are really confused already, so let me take this one step at a time, he says. According to a recent BBC article, human brains are now significantly smaller than they were thousands of years ago. Your ancestors had bigger brains than you. Several thousand years ago, humans reached a milestone in their history. The first known complex civilization began to emerge. The people walked around and meeting in the world's earliest cities would have been familiar in many ways to modern urbanites today. But since then, human brains have actually shrunk slightly. The lost volume on average would be roughly equivalent to that of 4 ping pong balls, says Jeremy De Silva, an anthropologist at Dartmouth College in the US. And according to an analysis of cranial fossils, which he and colleagues published last year, the shrinkage started just 3,000 years ago. So does that mean that we're getting dumber? 3,000 years ago was basically after the exodus from Egypt. Now, well, yes, that is what some scientists believe. The following comes from NPR. The experts are not sure about the implications of this evolutionary trend. Some think it might be a dumbing down process. One cognitive scientist, David Geary, argues that as human society grows increasingly complex, individuals don't need to be as intelligent in order to survive and reproduce. Whether we want to admit it or not, brain size matters. A chicken is never going to be as smart as a dog, and a dog is never going to be as smart as a human. And as our brains continue to shrink, humans will just keep getting dumber and dumber. If you doubt this, just go back and try to read the writings of our founding fathers. Most Americans today can barely understand what they were trying to say, and that is extremely unfortunate. It turns out that we are also getting slower. A book by anthropologist Peter McAllister, Manthropology, The Science of the Inadequate Modern Male, analyzes fossilized footprints left behind by 6 male Australian Aborigines some 20,000 years ago, and concludes that one of them was running at 37 kilometers per hour, only 5 kilometers slower than Usain Bolt was traveling when he ran the 100 meters in world record time of 9.69 seconds in Beijing. This is without hours of deliberate training or spiked running shoes. This was barefoot and in soft mood. Now, given modern conditions, the same man, dubbed T8, could have, says McAllister, reached speeds of 45 kilometers per hour. The book also refers to Tutsi initiation ceremonies from just a century ago. Young men had to jump their own height as part of the ceremony, with some of them jumping as high as 2.52 meters. The world record is 2.45 meters. Other scientists have come up with similar conclusions. In fact, one researcher at Cambridge University claims that even our very best athletes would pale in comparison to our ancestors from thousands of years ago. Even our most highly trained athletes pale in comparison to those ancestors of ours, Dr. Colin Shaw told Outside Magazine. He says we're certainly weaker than we used to be. The study looked at skeletons dating back at around 5,300 BC, with the most recent to 850 AD, a time span of 6,150 years. It then compared the bones to that of Cambridge University students and found the leg bones of male farmers 5,300 BC were just as good as those of highly trained cross-country runners. But at least we've gotten taller over time, right? Wrong. We may be taller than many of the impoverished people that lived through the Middle Ages, but that was just because of a lack of proper nutrition. If you go back several thousand years, our ancestors were much taller, larger, and taller than we are today. An early study by Cambridge University found that mankind is shrinking in size significantly. Experts say humans are past their peak and that modern-day people are 10% smaller and shorter than their hunter-gatherers' ancestors. And if that's not depressing enough, our brains are also smaller. The findings reverse perceived wisdom that humans have grown taller and larger, a belief which has grown from data on more recent physical development. The decline, said scientists, has happened over the past 10,000 years. They blame agriculture, with restricted diets and urbanization compromising health and leading to the spread of disease. Dr. John Sanford has had work published in over 80 scientific publications, and he's been awarded more than 30 patents. He's done extensive research in this area, and he uses the term genetic entropy to describe what's happening to humanity. The following is how one reviewer summarizes his perspective. Imagine an instruction manual of tens of thousands of pages in which random changes have been made every time it's copied. Who would trust such a manual? How many changes would it take to make the manual usable? How long before the manual no longer makes a functional product? It's a testimony to the nature of our genome that we are still alive in spite of the level of decay. Again, Sanford points to the accumulation of deleterious mutations and argues that our genomes are not evolving to something greater. We are decaying and degenerating. In other words, our genomes at one point were in far better shape than they are at present. The decay process has taken a huge toll. This process he terms genetic entropy. He suggests that this decay trend is not only real, but it's an inevitable result of the random natural accumulation of mutations in our genome. Unfortunately, this process appears to be accelerating. Some researchers have estimated that the number of new mutations per generation is currently somewhere around 100, but other researchers claim that it's now closer to 300 per generation. That's a huge amount. In any event, the reality of the matter is that human DNA is steadily becoming corrupted over time, and it's getting worse with each passing year. Eventually, we would get to a point where our DNA is so corrupted that the human race simply would not be able to continue. And as I've warned my readers over and over again, time is running out for humanity. But as I noted at the beginning of the article, most people won't want to hear this sort of a message. Most people would like to believe that things are just going to get better and better, and that the future is full of lollipops and rainbows. Sadly, that is not the truth. The truth is that the human race and everything around us is in an advanced state of decay, and we desperately need help from someone greater than ourselves. This is by Michael Snyder. He says about the author, my name is Michael, and my brand new book entitled 7-Year Apocalypse is now available on Amazon. In addition to my new book, I've written 5 others that are available on Amazon: Lost Prophecies, The Future of America, The Beginning of the End, and Getting Prepared Now, and Living a Life That Really Matters, commissions earned. By purchasing the books, you help to support the work that my wife and I are doing, and by giving it to others, you help to multiply the impact that we're having on people all over the world. I've published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and the Most Important News. And the articles that I publish on those sites are republished on dozens of other prominent websites all over the globe. I always freely and happily allow others to publish my articles on their own websites, but I also ask that they include this about the author section with each article. The material contained in this article is for general information purposes only, and readers should consult licensed professionals before making legal, business, financial, or health decisions. I encourage you to follow me on social media, Facebook and Twitter, and any way that you can share these articles with others is definitely a great help. During these very challenging times, people will need hope more than ever before, and it's our goal to share the gospel of Jesus Christ with many people as we possibly can. This is on Collective Spark by Michael Snyder, guest writer. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Finally, support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.